All right. So, welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. And we do have people from around the world because I see Prab is in India. So that's definitely applied to him. Welcome to our Brazil Global Chamber Brazil series. In During this summer, we're gonna be covering three different events, full of different information that's very valuable for business and people interested in Brazil. And so today is event number one is a Brazil overview. We're gonna be learning more about the economic trends, the current opportunities, things are changing with the global economic background and general information about the country. Then eventually next week we're gonna have a sessions more in marketing and cross-cultural. And then on July 15th, the last one is gonna be more of a foreign company success example, and it's gonna be covering more in chemicals and pharmaceuticals. So you're more than welcome to join and register for the other two sessions as well. And and let's just move forward because we're gonna have a busy session. So I would like to start with our member Pedro Pessoa Carrizo from TXP Partners in Rio de Janeiro. Pedro and his partner Marcelo has been with the Global Chamber for probably around 5 years now, and they came through Phil Descent, our executive director in Southern Brazil by then, and we've been doing I think yearly event, and that's the whole idea of the Brazil event started with Pedro. And that's when I say, well, Pedro, this year we have a lot of members and resources that we can really expand it into a series. So without further ado, Pedro, welcome, benvindo, and thank you for jumping another year to be part of this event. And we really look forward to learning more about what's happening now in Brazil.
Okay, thanks, Cesar. Hello, everyone. So I've been asked to give a macro overview of Brazil in the last year or so. But just before I do that, briefly about TXP Partners. We're a structured finance boutique. So we've been around about 5 years. Nowadays, we'll do just about anything, not just structured finance, so straightforward finance or raising capital, whatever. Depends on what the client wants. And if it's not our expertise, we have a network of partners who can help us. There are three of us, three associates, and two of us are also at Albion Capital, which is a climate finance asset manager. So that's secondary activity, but in focus also. So about Brazil, I guess you can describe it depending on the kind of person you are. If you're one of those glass half full people, you can say that Brazil is a slow and steady economy. And if you're a half empty glass kind of person, you can say it's mediocre. So since the pandemic, we've had GDP growth of about, on average, 3% after 2021. So mostly driven by the recovery from the pandemic. The agricultural sector, especially in this year and in 2023, which was a very strong year. And growth has been surprising the market in general in the last few years. Usually it starts with projections of about 1%, 1.5%, and then by the third quarter, everyone has been upgrading their projections to 3%. And this surprise is mostly driven by government spending. So it's not the best of worlds, but it's what's been going on. We've had fiscal deficits, nominal deficits for the last 10 years of around 6% of GDP, which is pretty high. Only in 21 and 22 did we have a primary result that was either zero or slightly positive. As a consequence, public debt is high. It's it's approaching 80% of GDP, which is a level that is high compared to other developing countries. As far as I know, there's no other large developing market that has such high public debt. And there's not really any sign of this trend changing. Like most political systems, especially in democracies, uh, authorities and government officials and politicians don't want to cut spending. And on the revenue side, the tax take is already high at about 40% of GDP, so there's not much room for increasing there. So fiscal is definitely a problem area. Because of this, the monetary policy is what really is used to stabilize the economy. And so we've had very high interest rates, real interest rates, historically, really. This month, we've just concluded the last upcycle in rates. So the policy rate was increased to 15%, and it should stay at that level until the end of the year, and maybe we'll start seeing rate cuts at the end of the year and next year. Even with high rates, interest rates, compared to the rest of the world, the local currency, the real, has been depreciating for many years already. And that's a result of local issues and the global situation. We've had a strong dollar globally in the last 10 years or so, and the real was definitely affected by that. Also, since the pandemic, the increase in global interest rates in developed markets affected the currency. And obviously, like I said, the fiscal risk is really not beneficial to credibility, and local funds have been fleeing the country. It's become easier to take funds out of the country, so that's affected the currency. This year, lately, since really the Trump administration started, we've had the currency beginning to appreciate, and that's in part because Trumponomics does not want a strong dollar. So we've seen this weakness in the dollar globally, and the real has definitely appreciated against the dollar, although not against other currencies. Interest rates have started falling in developed countries, so the relative level of interest rates is becoming there's a bigger difference between rates in Brazil and rates elsewhere. And surprisingly, we have some local optimism on the fiscal front. The reasons for this are that although there are no signs of concrete action to cut spending or to have a fiscal discipline, there are elections in 2026, and the current president Lula is old and very unpopular at the moment. So people are imagining, the markets, right, are imagining a Joe Biden scenario where he would either not run, or if he did run, he would not win. And this would give us some room for a next administration that would be right of center, possibly, and more prone to doing a fiscal adjustment. Also, next door in Argentina, there's the example of Milei, who is doing a very strong, very strict fiscal adjustment. Argentina has been in a situation of fiscal indiscipline for many more years than Brazil, and it's showing that it's possible to actually implement measures that fix the fiscal situation without imploding the economy. So the example next door for now is positive and gives some hope for the situation in Brazil. And also, we are lucky enough to be geographically isolated from the hot zones in the world. So Brazil is becoming a sort of a safe haven, far away from the wars. It's a commodity producer, which is always good in wartime. And it's not all that engaged in international trade, so it doesn't have all that much to lose in this new tariff world. So as a result, the real has been strengthening lately. As far as sectors in the economy, given this macro situation, we've seen optimism in sectors like climate finance and the whole green revolution opportunity, the transition. Aside from agriculture, which is still strong, commodities and the industrial sector that has been benefiting from the weak currency in part, and also investments in certain sectors like renewable energies and also water and sewage sanitation, especially. So we can focus on a few sectors that are doing well: renewable energy, reforestation, and climate-friendly agriculture, bioeconomy, that kind of thing. A few examples in solar and energy. Just the licensed projects since 2020 will bring a boom in construction in the next few years, and we're talking about 200 to 300% increase in investment in that area. This was until recently, this was mostly financed by the public sector development banks, but now the private sector is much more engaged in this kind of things, especially in smaller projects. In wind offshore also, we should see the first auctions this year. And we're talking about 250 gigawatts of capacity in the medium to long term. So that should be a hot sector also. In reforestation and forests in general, the target is for 12 million hectares of replanted forests in the medium term. So that's about $50 billion, considerable amount. And there's also a program to auction large areas for sustainable businesses like lumber, and that's moving pretty fast. That's 5 million hectares by 2027 in concessions. And reforestation, although it's still incipient, there should be a lot of auctions also, and there's a lot of interest from the private sector and all sorts of startups for reforestation and investment funds, and also obviously foreign funds that are interested in that area. In the commodities, there are the transition metals. Brazil is already a big producer of all sorts of metals, but there's a lot to be explored still in the territory. But we know already that lithium is there's a lot of lithium in central Brazil. Brazil is already the largest producer of niobium, and there's more to mine. And rare earths, which are all the craze nowadays in the world. There's a large mine in the Amazon, and thanks to the renewable energy and supply that we have in Brazil from both hydro and solar and wind, there's an opportunity for green steel and green aluminum. Also, hybrid vehicles. Ethanol has been almost the entire fleet in Brazil, auto fleet, runs on flex fuel, so it runs on gasoline and ethanol. This is an established technology, and there's room for growth and for development there. And obviously the EV fleet is also growing, and could be a hybrid ethanol EV solution for Brazil. And in climate-friendly agriculture, this is regenerative agriculture. There's strong interest from local financiers and from producers. So this is an area that's picking up steam, and it's driven by technology and artificial intelligence, a lot of it. So it has a second order consequences also. And in the more traditional sectors, there's oil and gas. Maybe you've heard about what's going on in Guyana, fastest growing country in the world, I think. And Brazil has oil in that same area. The blocks were auctioned this month, so we should see renewed interest in oil and gas sector and investment in that area. The electric sector, aside from renewables, there's all the infrastructure around for the electric sector. There's been some interference in the regulatory framework in the last couple of years, but it's well established, and it probably won't suffer from any heavy-handed interference. So there's transmission lines and all the infrastructure that's necessary for the data centers that should be popping up in Brazil for artificial intelligence. And lastly, on the really more traditional sectors, water and sanitation, the privatizations that occurred in the last few years, and these are big companies with very heavy investment, and that benefits the whole industrial sector. So that's a little bit on what's happened lately and what's moving, what's gathering steam, and the more promising sectors for the next few years.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Pedro. Very, very good summary. And we plan to have a quick Q&A at the end, but if anyone has a question or a comment in regards to what Pedro said, feel free to jump in now.
Sure. Hi, can I jump in, or if there's
Yeah.
somebody who's...
Yeah, sure.
Hey, this is
Hi,
Vinay Gupta. Thank you from San Francisco Bay Area. My expertise in clean energy. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Expertise is in clean energy, water sector, infrastructure development, and in variety of other areas. So I definitely appreciate you giving us a rundown on that. And there are a few projects that I'm working on actually in Brazil itself, where we see a whole lot of power generation surplus, given there has been a lot of upgrades in the infrastructure. And now they are looking at areas where they can curtail the power. So looking for some applications in that area, understanding where is it going, and trying to really figure out what to do. So I would love an opportunity to connect with you offline if possible and get a deeper understanding of the area. But there are some great opportunities that we are pursuing, and especially one of the things I forgot to mention, which is also in my wheelhouse, is circular economy or recyclable areas, which I feel Brazil is really focused on. And when I mentioned manufacturing, and I think you touched upon rare earth metals, etc. So for the batteries, especially lithium ion, that's an area where I'm deeply focused. So the things that you mentioned are very close and near and dear to my heart. So I'd love an opportunity to connect. And if Cesar, if you could kindly connect us.
I'm already on that. Yeah.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that very much. And if any questions I can answer for you or later for the audience, because that's a focused area for me in Brazil, and actually in Chile and in Colombia. But Brazil, of course, we're talking Brazil right now. Thank you so much for that.
It's a good topic to take in another event for the region for sure. Thank you,
For
Vinayak.
sure. Thank you.
I see Santosh. I see you raise your hand, but let's try to move to the next speaker, and then we come back to you in the Q&A if that's fine. And thank you, Pedro. Thank you very much. I invite you to stay here with us and put your contact information in the chat so everyone can connect with you. Now I would like to move to Marcelo Reis from Russell Bedford International. Russell Bedford is a member actually based in London, but with a network of accountants and CPAs around the world. And Marcelo is going to be covering a little bit about accounting and finance in Brazil. So Marcelo, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So I'm Marcelo Reis. I'm partner of the international desk of Russell Bedford in Brazil. Russell Bedford is an accounting and audit firm. We're now in about 120 countries. So we are the Brazilian firm, and we have offices in mostly of the capital cities in Brazil. So I'm basically my role is to help the international clients to do business in Brazil and guide them through the different aspects of the markets here. So, and today I would be just doing a quick review with you about the accounting, the tax, and business insights. So as I have I don't know if you see my presentation here. Maybe I
Yes.
can.
Do you want me to share for you?
Yes,
Or
please.
okay. Yes.
It's not too long, just like a couple of slides so you can follow along with me.
Yeah. Can you see it?
Not yet.
Let me try again. What about now?
I'm seeing it.
I can see it.
Okay. Okay.
I can see it.
Okay,
Marcelo, can you see it?
not really. Let me check here.
Otherwise, you can just, speak on it. And I'm gonna make sure to share the slides.
Okay, so going through the accounting and this we can move forward to the next slide.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do I say? Always discussing with clients about first of all choosing the right legal structure in Brazil. So defining which is the best corporate type. So you can go for a limited company like a LLP in the United States, or a corporate would be the SA in Brazil, or a branch, and then doing all the registration processes in Brazil, which is getting your tax ID and all the other necessary registrations on state and municipality levels. Okay, and then implementing the accounting and the compliance according to the different, of course, of the different sectors of the company. And then very important that there are different tax regimes. So normally we need to do these preliminary studies here in Brazil. It's important to have a business forecast, for instance, to see which is the best tax regime, and what are the benefits that we can have from it. And then study what are the company pricing and contracts, and how the company is going to operate in Brazil. And of course, it's very important that you engage a bilingual local team. If you have a good managers here in Brazil, it's important to have. We need to have, for instance, for foreign shareholders, you need to have a power of attorney and a legal representative. So this would be the first steps when starting the business here. So we can go forward to the next slide. So a little bit about the accounting. The Brazilian gaps has been aligned to the IFRS. So there are just slight differences right now, but we are very much like the IFRS. There are certain difference from the US GAAP. So when the company needs to report to the US, normally we do a different accounting for US GAAP to consider the US GAAP rules as well. We have been very much good from the digital compliance. So all the invoicing process in Brazil and the reporting process to the government, the declarations are all digital. So this is a good point here. I think there's a difference in these the invoicing process, for instance. So this is something that we always need to look in detail. And then other legal formats that determines what the applicable standards would be. And we can move to the next slides, please. So a little bit more about the tax system. We have this multi-layered tax system with federal, state, and municipality levels. We've been discussing and we've been through a very important tax reform that will take, well, about 10 years to have all these changes in the tax reform. So I just brought to you here what is the actual scenario here in Brazil, but we've been preparing some different studies and you can access the studies which discuss and overview the differences that we're gonna be navigating during the next 10 years, for instance, when the tax system will have a big change, okay? Big change, for instance, on these overlapping indirect taxes, because we have the VAT, which is the ICMS in Brazil, which have difference. It varies from state. You have many different regulation, and it brings a very complex aspect to the VAT, which is the state level taxes. So this is probably, or it's going to change within the next years. Okay, and we have this the problem that we have a high litigation environment because we have many different and rapidly changing in the legislation. So there are many litigation in within the tax environment as well. And we can move to the next, please. So basically, what the scenario that we have now with the corporate tax structure would be this ERPJ would be the income tax, along with the CSLL, which is a contribution over net profit. It goes around 34%. Okay, and then we have other federal taxes would be this PIS/COFINS, which is the one that they want to this recent reform should combine the PIS/COFINS and then VAT. So we're gonna have basically two different taxes, and then but nowadays we have just the income tax with two different taxes, ERPJ and CSLL. And then other federal taxes would be PIS/COFINS, which can be cumulative and we can be non-cumulative, and it can change if you are in the different tax regimes. So this is the reason why it's very important to analyze your budget and forecast to see which is the best tax regimes for your company here. And then the ICMS this is the state VAT tax that can vary between by state and by product. For some products you can be exempt, for instance. And then the ISS would be the services tax that is charged by this municipality and can vary between 2 and 5%. And then I named some of the incentives, which is Sudan, different parts of Brazil that you can have tax incentives. In Manaus, for instance, in the Amazon, there is a free trade zone, and then in several other incentives that you can eventually be eligible to. And we can move to the next one. So I name some of the strategic sectors with relevant tax incentives would be agribusiness, that is I would say the most important sector in Brazil. Okay, so it's sport driven, and there's lots of different incentives for the agribusiness sector. And then the energy sector as well, that was mentioned before. And this Lei do Bem, which is for the technology, but it applies for different innovation for tax relief as well. And then this very, very interesting point is the infrastructure, because there are several public-private partnerships across Brazil with fiscal benefits and very interesting operations as well. And then the healthcare, which is the other with important specific tax incentives and benefits, which is very interesting too. And we can move for the next one, and this closes my presentation, which just says that it's very important to plan and partner right in Brazil, so you can have the best offers and the opportunity, even though the complexity of the country. But if you have a very good strategic planning, and you have a good partnership with the Brazilians that know the market, you can find a good opportunities here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcelo. I do have a quick question. I see there's a lot of state and municipal taxes and differences. So are there some states that are really trying to attract foreign direct investment with better taxes or more attractive incentive than others? And can you mention those?
Yes, there are different. There are like Santa Catarina in Brazil, for instance, and this is one important point you raised, because we call in Brazil a fiscal war between the states. So the states always try to, of course, offer the best tax scenarios, the best tax opportunities for the companies to bring investments, create employment and benefits to the states. So Santa Catarina is one of those. They offer many tax benefits for import and export. There are many automotive companies established in Santa Catarina due to these benefits. There are Espírito Santo as well. They have a big port in Espírito Santo, Tubarão, and the state offers also benefits to companies that established there. So for different sectors, you can find different states that offer opportunities and tax benefits to companies to invest there.
Perfect. Thank you. And we got a couple of experts in Santa Catarina. So definitely, yeah. We got Phil here in the call, and we got a couple of members from there. So it's interesting to see that's a competitive state. So before we move forward to Wagner, I would like to ask Guy Raymond. Guy, if you can just in a minute tell us about Canberra and the new deal with Brazil, because I received a message from Darren earlier this morning, but I see he dropped off the call. So, Guy, if you can just say in a minute what you're doing in Brazil, that would be great.
Hi, Steve. Thanks very much. Yeah, Darren had to leave at past, so he had another appointment that he couldn't get out of. And my name's Guy. I work for Canberra, so we are formerly Western Union Bank, and we help clients manage international trade by processing currency payments and helping you manage currency risk associated with currency assets. So with all the exchange rates, fluctuating so much over this year in particular, it's been quite a good time to help clients protect their margins from all the volatility that's going around, particularly coming out of the States. With regards to how we operate across a lot of jurisdictions, and with Brazil, we're able to send Brazilian currency into Brazil, which is not something most brokers can do. So we do have a large range of currencies that we can send. So 140 currencies to 200 countries. And Brazil is one of those. And we're able to send it at a fast and cheap way versus other institutions, which means that you don't get intermediary charges, payments getting clips along the route, and it just helps to ensure you've got that security of the money getting there in full.
Thank you, Guy. And I think Darren mentioned something about Pix. I learned about Pix. I didn't know what Pix was. And so Pix is everywhere. It's a payment method there in Brazil, and so he mentioned something about you will be able to manage Pix as well from abroad. So that's interesting. Thank you. So now
Thanks, Caesar.
let's move to our next speakers, Wagner Mentler, from SGF Global, and they're all about hiring and overseas. They're an international company based in Miami, but Wagner is part of the Brazilian team, and he's gonna be covering a little bit about HR and the hiring process and opportunities in the country. Welcome, Wagner.
Hey Caesar, thank you. Thanks everyone. It's a pleasure to talk to you. So talking a little bit about Brazil landscape and to cover a little bit about the key information for foreign companies here in Brazil. First of all, I would like to start by sharing with you a landscape overview about the key industries that are high demanding in Brazil right now and companies that are, reaching out to us so we can help them to hire in Brazil. About STF, we are a global company, global HR consultancy, and we mainly assist companies that want to hire, to find talent, to source for talent, and to hire and administer those talents in over 35 countries right now. STF has been working for more than 30 years, and we are present in more than 35 countries with a very strong presence in Latin America. But as Cesar mentioned, our headquarters is in US, Miami. So about the key industries right now that are high demanding. So for example, mining and natural resources, lithium and rare earth minerals are gaining relevance for the global energy transition, especially electric car batteries. So for example, BYD, the electric car company, they started mining in Brazil in 2023. So we are seeing lots of companies that are investing in this market here because for the automotive market, this is something that is very important. The second industry is exactly be manufacturing and automotive. That's this increasing demand for EV, electric vehicle infrastructure, and localized supply chain. Also, one of the main, I would say, markets that we've been working for more than 30 years is the oil and gas and energy industry. Brazil is self-sufficient in oil and gas. Petrobras dominates, but many foreign operators are active. So oil and gas is very strong. We have some demands right now in Santos, São Paulo, for example, but Rio de Janeiro is one of the locals that are very strong in Brazil if we're talking about oil and gas. And usually this is a type of industry that demands highly skilled professionals with very specific knowledge. So it's an industry that we are helping a lot. Technology and software, this one goes without saying. We have a very strong talent pool in software development, fintech, AI, and cybersecurity in Brazil. Over 15 unicorns as of 2025, including Nubank, Wildlife, and Quinto are from Brazil. And finance and fintech, also Brazil is one of the most digitally banked countries in Latin America. And fintech and digital banking adoption continues to grow very rapidly in Brazil. Also, one of the main aspects that makes IT such a big industry when we're talking about hiring internationally is that we have lots and lots and lots of professionals that can work fully remote. And after the pandemic, this became like a huge hit. And all types of companies from US, Europe, and many other countries, they decided to hire in Brazil. people to work remotely, specifically because it's very cost effective. If we have like the currency exchange in dollars and euros, it's very cost efficient to hire someone in Brazil to work remotely for your company in US, London, you name it, very different types of countries can do that. And you can hire like a very senior IT professional, for example, paying something around like 2000 or 3000 USD. Now, about how you can explore Brazilian market and how to hire in Brazil more specifically, there are different scenarios that you can work on. So first of all, and I would say this is the most complex one, you can open your own legal entity in Brazil. So you can establish a legal entity here to directly hire employees under Brazil consolidation of labor laws. Foreign companies typically need to establish a local legal entity, like a subsidiary or a branch, and obtain like a national register of legal entities. And this grants full control, of course, over hiring and the company culture and everything, but also entails significant bureaucracy processes that can take several months, maybe years, depending on the type of company that you work in. And also, of course, you will find challenging to understand the salaries, to benchmark where you can hire personnel in Brazil. So it's very complex when you want to do this by yourself and open the entity and start from scratch. So one of the main courses that companies they usually do is that they use a employer of record or a EOR to assist them in entering this new market. So for example, we can provide the employer of record services where we would hire the employees on behalf of the company. We would take care of everything from hiring, all the complex situation for compliance, administering personnel, labor laws, cultural norms, local laws, and the company does not have to worry about any of that. And this is a very, I would say, interesting scenario when companies they are trying to explore the new market by just hiring remote talent to be more cost efficient. But it can also be used when the company is trying to tap into that new market and test out the market before making like a deeper commitment, because they can enter the market using the EOR or the employer of record, and within a couple of weeks they would be able to hire and start operating within the country. Then in the meantime, of course, they can open their own entity, and while they are opening the entity, they are operating using the employer of record, and afterwards they can transfer the employees to their own local entity and start doing everything, I would say, by themselves. So the EOR is a very fast and cost efficient way, and most of all, a safe way for the company to really understand a little bit more about the market and start operating within the market. But as I mentioned, if they don't want to do that, they just need the talent, to access the talent pool within that market. They can do that by the EOR too. So you would be able to hire in Brazil to work, anywhere around the globe, and they wouldn't have to worry about anything about the labor laws or the complexity that comes with Brazil and hiring in Brazil. They would need just to pay the providers such as SGF to do the whole process to them. Also, there's like a third method, which would be like the independent contractors. You can hire the independent contractors. It's another option, but it's of course it's crucial to ensure that there's no employer-employee relationship like fixed hours, exclusivity, because if you misclassify the employee as a contractor, this can lead to legal and financial penalties. We can help companies to hire independent contractors as well. And we also can do that by using staffing services, for example. So we can hire the employee, we can provide this employee under a staffing model. So this is another way where the company can hire the employee. We can help manage the employee being as a full-time or independent contractor as well. At the end of the day, it will all depend on what's best for the company, what the company wants on like a short term or long term, and we will help the company to find the best solution so they can navigate the market in a way that's safe and without, I would say, that much complexity. And Some questions that might arise, as I mentioned, was, for example, sometimes companies they want to hire, let's say that a IT company wants to hire a infrastructure analyst in Brazil, but they don't know the salary, they don't know the benefits, they don't know, where to find this person. It's also good to have a partner or a company that can help you source the talent, understand about, like, for example, in terms of where it would be able to find that talent. So we have like major centers such as São Paulo, such as Rio, such as Minas Gerais, Belo Horizonte. But of course, we are a very big country, so we can have lots of different situations in salaries and in talent pools within Brazil. So it's very important to have a company alongside you to assist you and to help you navigate all the scenarios as possible. Some important considerations for foreign companies are, of course, the complexity. Brazilian labor laws are highly detailed, and employee protective is advisable to seek expert legal HR counsel to ensure compliance and avoid costly disputes with employees. Cultural nuances, as I mentioned, understanding local business culture, communication styles can greatly aid in successful integration of foreign employees. Due diligence, thorough due diligence of any potential EOR, local partners is essential. And the cost of hiring, because of course, beyond the gross salary, the employers need to budget for social charges and benefits, which significantly impact the overall cost of employment in Brazil. I would say that for a full-time employee, usually the cost of hire goes up in about 80% of the gross salary if we're talking about a full-time employee at the end of the day. So it's very important to bear that in mind if you want to hire in Brazil, to understand if this is something that would work for your company and scenario. But as I mentioned, the currency exchange is very helpful, and usually it's something that makes sense. So a little bit about the Brazilian laws, the Consolidação das Leis de Trabalho in Brazil. The CLT is primarily legal framework governing employment in Brazil, providing strong protections for employee, and the key aspects might include the employment contracts itself. Okay, they must comply with local laws and can be for an indefinite term, most common in Brazil, or a fixed term, up to 2 years, with one renewal that's allowed for a total of 2 years, and probation period cannot exceed 90 days. For working hours in Brazil, the standard working hours are 8 hours per day, 44 per week. And if we're talking about overtime, for example, it's limited to 2 hours per day and must be paid in 150 of the regular hourly rate. So, of course, we have some other variations if we are working on a night shift, for example. So we are very specific in these terms. In Brazil, we have the 13-month salary or the Christmas bonus. It's a mandatory payment equal to 1 month's salary, and usually it's paid in two installments, November and December. For vacation period, employees in Brazil are entitled 30 days calendar of paid vacation after each 12-month work period, plus a one-third vacation bonus. We also have sick leave. Employers pay for the first 15 days of sick leave, and after that, the National Institute of Social Security takes over. We have also maternity and paternity leave in Brazil. We have provisions for both maternity and paternity leave. And the severance indemnity fund, the FGTS, employers must deposit 80% of an employee's monthly salary into a dedicated FGS account. In case of unfair dismissal, the employee is entitled to receive 40% of the FGTS balance. And for termination, typically requires a notice of 30 to 90 days, depending on the years of service and severance pay. Brazilian law does not recognize the concept of redundancy in the same way as some other countries. And about unions, Brazil has a robust union system and collective agreements that can override statutory laws in many areas. And of course, we have our social contribution and taxes that both employers and employees contribute to Brazil's social security system and other funds. So, as you can see, Brazil, it's a very complex country in terms of our labor laws and taxes and everything. So it's very good to have companies that can aid you in the process so you can understand if this is something that makes sense for your company or not. Actually, it's very good that I'm seeing that all the presentations are kind of connecting, so we are helping each other to understand a little bit more. I will not talk about, the taxes because other people that are better than me by to talk about the specifics in Texas and everything. But if you want to hire in Brazil, just bear in mind that it's something that it's doable. We have a incredible talent pool, especially in the areas that I just mentioned: technology, oil and gas, energy, and financial, for example. But just go for it and have like a HR firm such as SGF Global to assist you in understanding what is the best path, how can we do it correctly and compliantly to avoid any kind of future problems. And I can assure that you'll be in for a very joyful ride in Brazil.
Thank you very much, Wagner. Very, very complete information. And just as a time check, we're gonna have Arturo. What I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna have Arturo, which is the last speaker, and then we're gonna have the Q&A. And I close out the recording and then leave the room open for Q&As and comments. So we can have Arturo completing the session. But thank you, Wagner. I was going to ask you about how is Brazil in terms of other countries in the region, and you told me that even within Brazil, there's a lot of differences. So that's really very important to consider. Thanks again. Let's move now to Arturo Mutoni. Arturo has been a global chamber advisor for probably around 5 years and based in southern Brazil. From Exteriorize, his company, he's going to be talking about import and export and product side of things and opportunities. Welcome, Arturo.
Thank you, Cesar. Thank you for the invitation. I will share here my presentation. Please let me check here. Could you please confirm if you're seeing?
Yes, we can see it.
Oh, perfect, perfect. So, guys, hi everybody. My name is Artur Mutoni. I'm the founder of Exteriorize. It's a consultancy company that help uh, companies to expand internationally, including support foreign companies to opportunities in Brazil. Today, my idea is to give you a quick and practical overview about opportunities in Brazil, focusing import-export flows, main trade partners, and how global trade shifts and create opportunities here with Brazil. Here, Brazil still remains the major global exporter of commodities. Here, I bring the 5 main products that we exported this 5 first month of the year. As you can see, Brazil exported $136 billion only the 5 months, and the main destinations was China, USA, and Argentina. But I would like to this tech inform that Brazil exports almost all codes of the HS. So I bring here only the 5 main that you see. That's soya, crude oil, and meat, but also export a lot of industry products. And about destination, to have an idea, there are more than 170 countries that Brazil exported this first 5 months of the year, more than $1 million. So we have a good relationship all over the world, and we have several products where we can provide. Looking for the import, we have a different scenario. Our products are more more work, more industrialized, like fertilizer, motors, auto parts, medicaments. But also we have a lot of products that we import. In main suppliers, China, with almost 30% of the importation in Brazil, USA, Germany, then Argentina and other partners. As well as export, we have a lot of partners, more than 130 countries exported this 5 month, more than $1 million to Brazil. Here, the idea is bring a slide that global trade is changing fast. We have 5 years ago, 4 years ago, the COVID that impact our supply chain worldwide. Now we have a new political tension between U.S. and China, and that's bringing to others country to look over a new partners. So nearshore and friendshoring trends are increasing, and Brazil, as can be seen, is a alternative and reliable supplier and partner. Sectors with strong and global potential. I've been here, food and beverage, especially organic and processed food. Brazil is very strong. Machinery and equipment, particularly for agriculture and industry. Footwear and fashion, known by creativity and quality. Plastic and packaging with innovation and scale. And tech, as my previous colleague talked, especially SaaS, AgTech, fintech that was mentioned before also is a great entry point for collaboration or sourcing with Brazil. And finally, why Brazil? Why now? Brazil have 110 million consumers in the country. In the region, we have almost reached for Mercosur on 270 million consumers. The rising demand for sustainable and traceable products, the competitive manufacturing base in transformation, has a strong industrial demand for automation, energy solutions, and digital tools. It's open for innovation, foreign technology partnerships, and finally, and very important, the green economy and circular production is gaining great momentum, is very having a principal overview here in Brazil. So in other words, Brazil is a great time to be explored and have partners and make business. Just I want to thank you, everybody. Leave my contact here. Just to know, Sterilize will help companies to go global, and we help international players understand and work with Brazil. Our services include export readiness, international prospecting, sourcing, logistics, regulatory advisory. If you think exporting to Brazil, importing from Brazil, building long-term partnerships, we'll be happy to support. And there is my contacts, my phone, my email, also in LinkedIn if you need any information. As I mentioned, Brazil import and export almost all HA's codes and have a good relationship with almost all countries. So it will be a pleasure to help you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Arturo. I'm gonna wrap up the recording, but just keep, as I said, keep the room open for questions and comments if anyone wants to stay longer. Just as a reminder, everyone who's watching now or the recording, we have the next session next week on Wednesday, and it's gonna be mainly about marketing and cross cultural in Brazil. So we're gonna be learning a lot more. So let me stop there.